Hey yo, this is Dash, and it's been a little while since I've cut up a whole brisket, and what better time to do it than having this lovely new camera and an opportunity. So join me as I slice up a whole brisket in real time for you guys in 4K. Get ready. All right, welcome. It's been a little while since I've showed you guys the process of me slicing up a brisket in real time. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done today. So the first thing I'm gonna do is use my fat separator. I'm gonna put a link to this fat separator down below. It's an Amazon affiliate link. Those links help me out. If you were to so choose to purchase something using that link, I get like 1% back of your purchase price. So if you want to support the channel, please feel free to use the Amazon link. All right, so here we have a whole brisket. This brisket started life, it was just under 15 pounds. It was like 14.97 pounds. After I trimmed it and cooked it, it's probably a little right around 8 pounds now. And my order today is for a whole brisket. I'm going to take this brisket. This brisket has been cooling for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. It is still pretty warm to the touch. But I'm going to use a 12-inch slicing knife. This is a flat edge slicing knife. I did used to use a serrated knife and a flat knife, but I found that the flat knife worked better over time. What you just saw me do was stick the knife in between the two layers of fat, or excuse me, the two muscles. This muscle on top is the point. The muscle down at the bottom is the flat. I'm going to come and separate the two cuts completely. I'm not going to come in here and cut this in half and call this the point and call that the flat, because there is point meat that gets taken with the flat, and then there's flat meat, which is underneath, that gets taken with the point. So I'm going to separate these two cuts by sticking my knife directly in between the two muscles, and I'm going to move my knife to my right, just feeling for the fat, cutting along the fat line, and I'm going to slightly curve my knife down, again following the fat line. I'm not going to move faster than I need to and let the knife do the work. Now I'm going to separate the point, and you see if I flip this over, this is the fat line, the separation, and this is the fat line here. So I left a little bit of the point here, just how it curved down. But I'm going to take this, put this off to the side. We'll get that in a second. This fat that's here, I'm going to take and cut some of this off and out. There's no real benefit to keeping that. Anything else egregious, I will cut and take off too. I'm really not going to flip the flat over. I'm going to come down and slice this into thin slices, trying to let the knife do the work. I'm pushing in and pulling back to actually make the cut. Trying to make uniform slices that are a little less than 1/4 of an inch thick. This brisket is actually still warm to the touch. It's a little warmer than I would like to slice the brisket for, but the young lady who this brisket is for is coming to my house to pick it up in about 15 minutes. I'm projected to be here in about 15 minutes, so I needed to get this done. Usually I would have had about an additional hour to cook this brisket, but I had to get this brisket early this morning, meaning I was running a little behind. I try to get my briskets the night before, the day before, but that didn't work out today. This edge is starting to fall apart a little bit because it was the leading edge and probably took a good majority of the heat, but that's all right. If you see or notice a brisket that's crumbling completely, that means that edge or that piece of brisket is probably a little overdone, or a little more overdone than the person who cooked it would like it to be. And sometimes that happens. But I am just about finished here with the flat. I'm coming all the way down to the edge. Now what I do, because I am slicing my briskets for catering or for catered events, a lot of times I will not just simply leave the slices in, or leave the slices in full slices like this. I will come through and make these smaller. In essence, making this brisket stretch, because you're compelled, or human beings are compelled to take 1 or 2 pieces. If I took 1 or 2 whole slices, that's like a 1/4 pound. If I take 1 or 2 of these smaller pieces, that's far less than I won't say a portion, but far less than a 1/4 pound of brisket, meaning this brisket will go a long, long way, and a lot further than if everyone took 2 or 3 slices. Now your guests can take 3 or 4 slices and still feel like they have that 3 number portion in their head, but have a much smaller piece of the pie, or brisket, if you will. So as you see, I use my knife to pick up the pieces, but pick up the brisket. I'm going to clean up the board just a little bit. These pieces here, I'm going to stick in the corner. Pay for a whole brisket, you get a whole brisket. Again, using my knife. This is the point. This point here, or this part here, is all fat. Again, that little piece is meat there. I'm going to come in, square this up. Now I look at the brisket, or these pieces of brisket, to see sometimes if it's not trimmed well enough, or if depending on how the fat runs, you could have a big piece of fat that's underneath this, and I would always suggest trimming that off. My customers here in Baltimore do not particularly care for it, and here's a good example of that fat that's running along the side, and we're just going to take that off. Now there is a little bit of meat here, so I'll come back, cut the fat out, toss that, and this goes in. We'll get it sliced up, put it in the pan. That can go in that corner. All right, so now I'm going to come through, and this edge was fat again. I'm going perpendicular to the first cut that I made, and we'll get this put down into the pan. Just taking my time, even slices. Take this, pick it up with my knife. Be careful not to cut yourself. Actually, turn this around to make it easier for you to see. Now, because of the fact that I turned the pan around, I'm going to switch this around so that the pieces line up. But for the next cut, I'm going to turn the piece around so that I can stick it into the pan in the correct orientation. Let's see. How'd I do? Leave your comments down below. And this last piece, I'm gonna again fix the orientation so that it's all the same and slice it. Put that right down in there, like it was meant to be. These errant pieces, we'll just stick them in the corner. Get the cutting board cleaned up a little. Now under my cutting board, I do have, or did have, a wet paper towel, and I'm gonna use this wet paper towel to clean up a little bit of mess that I made before I'm done. Last but not least, I'm gonna take the brisket and cover it with aluminum foil. Cover the brisket. Tightly with aluminum foil. And there you have it. And just as simple as that, our brisket is done. I will go ahead and take the fat separator and take the jus from the brisket, put it into cups, and provide that to the customer with the whole brisket, and send them on their way. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them down below. I'd greatly appreciate some feedback. If you like what you saw, if you learned something, please let me know that down below too. Anyway, thanks again. I'll see you next time.
More butter, baby.